I collaborated with my best friend Espresso to participate in Nen's Comic Jam contest on itch.io, and here's how I drew a whole episode in 1 month. Let's get into it. So let's start off with a list of all the steps it took to make something out of nothing. Starting with the agreement to our collaboration, the brainstorming process, character designs, scripting, sketching, inking, coloring, rendering, our struggles, this includes scheduling and planning, and lastly, our takeaways. The timestamps are included for each segment, that way you can easily get to what you want to know about most. We hope you will enjoy the rest of what we're going to share with you. At the time I heard about this comic jam, I was in France for 5 days, and I got the notification from Nen's Discord server while I was in a car. At the time, my friend was in Mexico. I wasn't sure whether to join it or not, but I figured, why not? So I saw that we could work in teams, and I thought it would be a good idea to tell my friend about it. They agreed, so we proceeded to brainstorm. So first, we had to come up with a couple of story ideas. This happened rather quickly when we decided on my ghost town idea. When we decided on who the characters would be, Espresso thought it'd be impractical to show Hilda, the main character, going to a ghost town and back to the original neighborhood. We changed this in the upcoming scripting process. I always had a little story idea in mind that had a ghost girl in it, so I repurposed it to suit a Halloween setting and came up with a moral that relates to me and hopefully many others. It's a simple moral: tend to your inner child. For this short story, we kept the character count low, 2 important characters, and then Hilda's faceless parents. With this information, I came up with a quick mood board using Canva, it's not sponsored, obviously, and browsed DeviantArt for some art references. I ended up finding Matt Rhodes and took inspiration from his masterful compositions and how he can tell a story with no words. We didn't really decide on a format until we got to scripting. Espresso suggested the scroll format because it would allow for us to blend backgrounds and colors better and have the story flow in a more desired/cinematic way. Moving on to character design. We both like designing characters, so we split this step between the two of us. Espresso designed Hilda and her parents while I designed Lola, the ghost girl. When the concepts were done for both, I came up with their color schemes and drew a few more concepts for Hilda to get a better feel for her character, since I would be the one sketching the pages and inking them. We delegated the tasks of making the comic like so. At first, I would do the sketching, line art, rendering, and Espresso would take care of some sketching, lettering, and coloring. But as the deadline approached, some things were changed. In the end, Espresso took care of the scripting, decals, such as a fake social media post and a Dracula on a TV screen, and coloring. We ended up having to do little to no lettering because we decided on a story with little words. Scripting!
For me, writing is easiest when the goals are broken down. I first wrote down my goals, intro, climax, resolution and any events in between, and outlining how much screen time, aka panels, to devote to each event. Especially with our 25 panel limit, I had to figure out the cinematography that could portray multiple things at once or direct ways to go about events. I found it was helpful to think ahead and imagine the visuals without context, write down ideas as they came, and to revisit them with fresh eyes. It was also helpful to pass the script draft to Rosie and bounce ideas off of her. She thought of things I would have never thought of, and when she was stuck, I was able to come in and brainstorm something. It wasn't a direct process but a collaboration to put our ideas into words that we could then take to visual art.
Sketching. In my sketching process, I wanted to sketch as much as possible because school was starting soon for me. I read the script, went panel by panel, and tried to make everything visually interesting, yet readable by keeping a focal point in mind for each panel. For paneling, I often draw a wavy line beforehand, just so I know where I want to guide the viewer's eyes. Based on the events happening, I changed the panel shape, size, and length accordingly. The first 2 pages were tough because we had 2 establishing shots of the neighborhood and spooky version. I do have 2 scrap panels that were never used as well. At the time, we had only written up to panel 16, and I tried to improvise a little. Then Espresso wrote some stuff and filled in the rest, and I had to redraw those panels. But no pain, no gain. The line art process. Line art is my favorite part of the drawing process, believe it or not. And it's the easiest part of the comic drawing process, for me at least. But it can get redundant at times, so I was just mindlessly inking the pages while I got sick on the first week of school. I was disappointed because I had to skip a few days, but I kept working through the headaches. My sitting position was literally just me sitting like L from Death Note for hours at a time. I don't recommend working while sick, okay? I'm just a little crazy. Woo-hoo. Inking the establishing shots was daunting, but it was just like inking everything else, except it took longer. So, after every page I finished inking, I would send the .kra file in a Google Drive to Espresso, since we both use Krita. With the added bonus of our time zones, Espresso could color pages while I slept, and I could ink and render color pages while they slept. Espresso will do the flats.
The flats ended up taking a lot of time, especially when it came to the backgrounds. What I ended up doing to save time and sanity was to pick a set of colors for each repetitive asset, roof and wall colors, and mix and match them up with other color sets. That way the colors worked together and each building was fairly unique. Finding methods like this to streamline the flats was really helpful, but also the color selection was important. Whenever I needed a monotone color, like black or gray, I would add some orange or purple value, and whenever I needed a background color, I often lowered the value so instead of anything too bright, the colors would fit with the spooky, eerie undertones of the story.
Rendering. While rendering, I was making use of the screen layer mode in Krita. It wasn't a layer mode I used often up until working on this comic. It allowed me to make colors more cohesive within panels and let me make boring colors pop a bit more while still matching the environment. For shading, I simply drew some cell shading, blended the edges, and alpha locked the layer to airbrush suitable colors. For the lighting, the hard light and color dodge layer modes helped me add some extra pizzazz, and I occasionally colored the liner. I also put a little more time and effort into the panels that were supposed to be the most impactful. One of the last panels with Lola is basically just an illustration with like all the blitz and bling and all that stuff. Yeah, you know it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Struggles.
For me, it was a balance of schoolwork, personal responsibilities, health, and work. Even on days where I didn't have school, I also was home alone and the only one to care for our dogs.
My struggles were working on days where I was sick. Marketing was difficult as well because I just didn't. After finishing the comic, I was so done. I was unmotivated or doubting the completion of this project. There were time constraints, obviously. It was hard knowing when to stop for the day because I wanted to get as much done as possible, but at the same time I had to keep my health in mind. Right, this contest is supposed to be for fun, so I didn't want to put too much effort into it, and I had to remember to stretch my wrists while working on this because I was using my hand a lot, okay? Give my hand a break. Takeaways! Thanks for staying this long, by the way. Stuff I learned. I don't want to work like this consistently in my future comic career because it was just not really healthy, and I'm glad I did this because I learned from this experience that there are better ways to make a comic, and there are just different ways to draw things. Like, for example, the way I draw shadows is the way I draw shadows in my illustrations, and it just takes too long. It's really tiring, and I'm coming up with a way. I'm trying to come up with a faster way to still make the shadows look good while taking a lot less time. And here's an example up on screen of something I experimented with recently. But yeah. Also, I'm glad I finally have a completed comic under my belt. This is, I think, one of my first completed comics, aside from maybe like a 6-panel comic I did in, I don't know, 3 years ago or something, or like a messed up comic page I did 4 years ago. That was messed up. So I'm really glad I have something complete, colored, rendered and stuff, and I did it with someone else too, so it was cool. It was like being a project leader. It was stressful, but definitely worth it. It was really exciting working on this. The live stream was funny as hell.
Hell plus no friends plus low spirits. Yeah. Rennie's Pastries. Out with the gang, having a blast. Lol, did they go out without you, fucking loser? Bro, this is what happens when you get on. This is what happens when you start drinking Kendall Jenner's like diet tea. This is what happens to you. You look like this. Aw, they're black. That's rare. Espresso. Good writing. Good writing, Espresso. Really good writing. Rosie, great concept. Great design. Honestly, Rosie, I need to say this genuinely to you. The character design in this so far is one of the best. In that, like, you're trying to make something that isn't existing rather than taking something that existed and like emphasizing it. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, really fucking good. God, all the little moments, all the little color changes, the use of color is really good. Great job emulating the life of a millennial Gen Z individual who's depressed.
Seeing strangers read our work and rate it positively was super awesome. I myself am not used to criticism, and criticism scares me, but I really want to grow out of that because I know that to improve as an artist, criticism is something I need and is something I need to learn to accept. So I guess in the future, if you want to criticize me, bruh, go ahead. I welcome it. Yep. And we'll leave the rest to Espresso.
It was a great experience in managing time and working on digital art. I feel like I have learned more efficient techniques and I've come away with better strategies for color selection and planning out comic panels. Not to mention how rewarding it is to have made such an amazing short story comic with my friend.
And yeah, before I forget, please do go ahead and check out the other contestants' entries to the Words and Pictures Comic Jam. My personal favorite entry is It's Not Even November Yet by Neil at Demon Dionysus. I don't know how to pronounce that, my bad. But it's so cool and super cute, and I love the colors. Yeah, everyone had such great entries. I read all of them, and this was just like a really cool experience overall. And maybe in the future, some of you, anyone watching this video, hopefully you'll get encouraged as well to join a contest or something like this in the future as well. You won't regret it, hopefully. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye.
got to leave 'cause